The twin moons of Aurora hung suspended in the violet sky, casting an ethereal glow over the barren landscape. Vast crystalline plains stretched toward the horizon, their surfaces reflecting the perpetual twilight that blanketed this harsh world. The air was thin and cold, carrying the scent of mineral dust and ancient ice. Amara stood at the edge of the Frostreach Valley, her blue skin luminescent against the backdrop of crystalline formations. The ceremonial crystal armor of the Ice Drop tribe hugged her athletic frame, intricate patterns etched into its surface, telling stories of her lineage. Her hand gripped the ancestral crystal spear, the mark of her people's warriors for countless generations. She was the daughter of Frost Lamb, the tribe's leader, and the weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders like the massive ice sheets that covered the northern territories. The political balance between the Ice Drop tribe and the Black Rook had been precarious for centuries, with periods of open conflict followed by uneasy truces. The most recent war had ended just 3 cycles ago, but tensions remained high. The Ice Drop people worshipped the twin moons, believing that the celestial bodies watched over them and guided their path. Honor was paramount in their culture. To lose one's weapon in battle was to lose one's soul. Their crystal spear fighting techniques had been perfected over millennia, a deadly dance that few opponents could withstand. Amara raised her hand, signaling to her scouting party to proceed into the valley. The mission was simple: gather precious crystal fragments from the depths of Frostreach. These rare minerals were essential for crafting new weapons and ceremonial items for the tribe. "Remember," she said, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air, "we move quickly and quietly. The Black Rook rarely venture this far into the valley, but we must remain vigilant." The small group of blue-skinned warriors nodded, their faces solemn beneath their crystal helmets. They advanced carefully, their footsteps crunching softly on the glittering ground. The valley narrowed as they proceeded, towering ice formations rising on either side like silent sentinels. They had been gathering crystals for nearly an hour when Amara felt a shift in the air. She froze, raising her spear defensively as her eyes scanned the surroundings. The valley had gone eerily silent. "Something's wrong," she whispered, just as the first Black Rook warrior emerged from behind a crystal formation. Within seconds, they were surrounded. 12 Black Rook warriors materialized from all directions, their obsidian armor absorbing the violet light, their eyes cold with hatred. They moved with practiced precision, cutting off every escape route. "Ice Drop filth!" snarled the leader, a massive warrior with ritualistic scarring across his face. "You trespass on sacred ground." "This territory belongs to no tribe," Amara replied, her voice steady despite the hammering of her heart. "We seek only crystals, not conflict." The Black Rook warrior laughed, a hollow sound that echoed against the ice walls. "Everything you touch becomes conflict, blue skin. Your very existence is an affront to the natural order." Amara knew negotiation was futile. The Black Rook had come for blood. She gave a sharp nod to her warriors, and they formed a defensive circle, crystal spears pointed outward. The battle erupted with savage intensity. The clash of crystal against obsidian filled the valley as the two forces collided. Amara fought with all the skill her years of training had instilled, her spear a blur of light as she parried, thrust, and slashed. 3 Black Rook warriors fell before her, but they kept coming. Her scouting party was outnumbered, and the Black Rook fought with the ferocity of those who believed righteousness was on their side. Amara felt the moment her ancestral spear connected with an obsidian shield and shattered. The crystal weapon, passed down through generations of her family, exploded into 1,000 glittering fragments that scattered across the frozen ground. The sound was like a death knell, a physical manifestation of her failure. "I have no weapon to defend myself," she thought, a cold dread washing over her that had nothing to do with the frigid temperature. In Ice Drop culture, to lose one's weapon was to lose one's honor, one's very identity, Surrounded, exhausted, and now disarmed. Amara sank to one knee. The remaining Black Rook warriors closed in, their weapons raised for the kill. She looked up at the violet sky, at the twin moons watching impassively, and prepared to join her ancestors. That was when it happened. A figure plummeted from the sky, landing with impossible lightness between Amara and the Black Rook warriors. The newcomer wore strange metallic leather armor, unlike anything seen on Aurora, and carried no visible weapon. "Sorry I'm late," the stranger said, voice carrying an accent Amara had never heard before. "I was looking for my sword." The Black Rook warriors hesitated, confused by this unexpected interruption. The stranger used their momentary uncertainty to attack, moving with blinding speed. A hidden blade appeared in the newcomer's hand, a strange material that glowed with an inner light. 7 Black Rook warriors fell in a matter of seconds, their obsidian armor cleaved as if it were nothing more than ice paper. The remaining warriors retreated, disappearing into the crystal formations as quickly as they had appeared. Silence returned to the valley, broken only by the labored breathing of Amara's surviving scouts. The stranger turned to Amara and extended a hand. "The name's Kale. Looks like you could use some help." Amara stared at the outstretched hand, then at the face of her rescuer. The stranger had pale skin, not blue like her people, not gray like the Black Rook, but a color she had never seen before. "What are you?" she asked, ignoring the offered hand and rising to her feet. Kale smiled. "I'm human, from the White Galaxy, and I think perhaps we can help each other." The surviving members of Amara's scouting party gathered around, their expressions a mixture of suspicion and awe. One of them spoke, his voice tight with tension. "Commander, this outsider interfered in tribal matters. Our traditions also speak of gratitude to those who aid us," Amara interrupted, though her own misgivings ran deep. She turned back to Kale. "What brings a traveler from the White Galaxy to Aurora?" Kale holstered the strange glowing weapon and regarded Amara with serious eyes. "I'm searching for something. An ancient artifact known as the Black Shadow Blade. My research suggests it's hidden somewhere on this planet." Amara's breath caught in her throat. The Black Shadow Blade was a thing of legend among her people, a powerful relic said to have united the Ice Drop and Black Rook tribes in ancient times, before the Great Schism that had led to centuries of bloodshed. "That's just a myth," she said cautiously. "A children's tale." "I don't think so," Kale replied. "And I think you know that too. The blade has the power to connect opposing energies, like those of your tribe and the Black Rook. It once created peace, and it could do so again." "The Black Rook will never make peace," Amara said bitterly. "They only know destruction." Kale reached into a pouch at his belt and withdrew a small, holographic projector. A 3-dimensional image flickered to life between them. Ancient text and symbols that Amara recognized from the sacred scrolls kept by her tribe's elders. "This ancient record shows that the Black Shadow Blade was used to forge an alliance between your peoples," Kale said. "The alliance lasted for generations before something broke it. If we could find the blade again." Amara stared at the holographic text, her mind racing. If what this stranger said was true, it could change everything. With her father's eyesight failing and tensions with the Black Rook escalating, her people needed hope. But could she trust this alien being who had fallen from the sky? "Perhaps we can help each other," Amara said finally, echoing Kale's earlier words. "But know this, if you betray my trust, not even your strange weapons will save you." Kale nodded solemnly. "Fair enough. So, where do we start?" The journey to find the Black Shadow Blade began at dawn the next day. Amara had returned to her tribe's crystalline citadel to report the attack and gather supplies. The tribal elders had been suspicious of Kale, but had grudgingly accepted Amara's decision to work with the off-worlder after viewing the holographic records. Now, they stood at the edge of the Glimmer Peaks, a range of massive crystal mountains that glittered blindingly in the light of the twin moons. According to the ancient texts Kale had brought, the blade had been hidden in a sacred chamber beneath the mountains, a place called Avalek Severin, the frozen citadel. "The path ahead is treacherous," Amara warned as they began their ascent. Without her ancestral spear, she felt vulnerable, but she had armed herself with a standard crystal blade, serviceable, but lacking the spiritual connection of her lost weapon. "Master snowstorms can arise without warning, and the charge ravines can strip the flesh from your bones in seconds." Kale nodded, activating a strange shield that hummed with plasma energy. "My equipment should help with that, and I'm tougher than I look." Their relationship was strained at first. Amara was bound by duty and honor, following a strict code that had been passed down through generations of her people. Kale was nomadic, adaptable, and seemingly guided more by personal goals than collective responsibility. "Why do you care about Aurora's peace?" Amara asked, as they navigated a particularly treacherous ridge. "What does the fate of our world matter to someone from the White Galaxy?" Kale was silent for a long moment, eyes fixed on the path ahead. "Let's just say I'm trying to right some wrongs, and I need the Black Shadow Blade to do it." Before Amara could press further, a distant cry echoed through the crystal formations. They exchanged a glance before changing direction, moving toward the sound. They found a group of ice drop children, huddled in a small cave, their blue skin pale with cold and fear. They had become separated from their educational expedition when a sudden snowstorm struck. The youngest among them, a small boy named Kale, was suffering from early stages of crystal frost. Without hesitation, Amara knelt beside the children, using her body heat to warm the smallest. "We'll get you home," she promised. Kale watched with an unreadable expression before activating his plasma shield, expanding it to create a warm bubble around the entire group. "This will keep the cold at bay while we figure out how to get them back to safety." The detour to return the children to the nearest ice drop settlement took a full day, but Amara never considered abandoning them. Her kindness toward the young ones revealed a compassionate heart beneath her warrior exterior. Kale, too, showed unexpected gentleness, entertaining the children with stories of the White Galaxy during their journey. As they resumed their quest afterward, their relationship had shifted subtly. A newfound respect had begun to form between them. Their progress was continually hampered by black rook ambushes. The dark-armored warriors seemed to anticipate their movements, appearing from nowhere to attack with lethal force. Their obsidian armor exuded a terrible cold, and their ice-enchanted axes clashed against Kale's plasma weapons in explosive bursts of energy. After fighting off a particularly vicious attack, Amara and Kale took shelter in a small cave. As they tended their wounds, Amara voiced the suspicion that had been growing in her mind. "They're tracking us somehow. They know we seek the blade." Kale nodded grimly. "The Black Rook must have their own records about the blade's significance. They want to prevent us from finding it, or claim it for themselves." "If they obtain such power, my people will be exterminated," Amara said, her voice hollow. "The hatred in their hearts runs too deep." "What caused this divide between your peoples?" Kale asked, applying a healing salve to a cut on his arm. "The records show you were once allies." Amara sighed, her breath forming a small cloud in the cold air. "The histories are unclear. There was an event called the Ice Fire Incident, 500 cycles ago. Whatever happened, it shattered the alliance and began generations of warfare." Their conversation was interrupted by a distant rumbling. They moved to the cave entrance and saw a massive storm gathering over the highest peaks, exactly where they needed to go. "The entrance to Avalek Severin lies beyond that storm," Amara said. "If the ancient texts are correct." Kale's expression was determined. Then that's where we're headed. The ascent through the storm was brutal. Winds howling like tortured spirits buffeted them from all sides, while crystal shards, sharp as razors, sliced through the air. Kale's plasma shield protected them from the worst of it, but the effort of maintaining the energy field left him drained. Finally, they reached a plateau high in the mountains. Before them stood a massive ice sheet, seamless and impenetrable. According to the ancient texts, this was where they would find the entrance to Avalok Severin, but there was no opening to be seen. The texts mention a key, Kale said, consulting the holographic records. A crystal that resonates with the ice. Amara removed a small shard from her armor, a fragment of her shattered ancestral spear that she had kept. Perhaps this will serve. When she pressed the crystal against the ice sheet, a resonant tone began to build, vibrating through the frozen wall. Slowly, a seam appeared, widening until it formed an archway, large enough to pass through. They exchanged a glance, then stepped into the darkness beyond. Avalok Severin was unlike anything Amara had imagined. The ancient citadel was buried deep beneath the ice, a vast complex of crystalline chambers and corridors illuminated by a soft blue glow that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The architecture blended crystal artistry with what appeared to be ancient plasma technology, creating a space that felt both sacred and scientific. "This place is older than our recorded history," Amara whispered, her voice filled with awe. "How could we have forgotten its existence?" "Time buries many truths," Kale replied, studying the wall carvings with intense interest. "Look here. These glyphs speak of the Moon Spirit Chamber, where the Black Shadow Blade was enshrined, set with twin crystals representing your dual moons." As they ventured deeper into the citadel, ancient traps and challenges presented themselves. Plasma lights flickered on and off in a pattern that seemed to match the traditional breathing rhythm of ice drop meditation. Crystal bridges dissolved beneath their feet as they crossed, requiring split-second timing and perfect balance. During a moment of rest, Amara voiced the doubt that had been growing within her. "Even if we find the blade, am I worthy to wield it? I have already lost my ancestral spear, the most sacred trust of my family line." Kale regarded her thoughtfully. "Perhaps worthiness isn't about maintaining tradition perfectly. Perhaps it's about having the courage to forge new paths when the old ones no longer serve." As they navigated the labyrinthine passages of Avalok Severin, Kale gradually revealed more about his past. He had once been appointed as a hyperspeed guardian of the White Galaxy, tasked with protecting a princess from a rival star system. He had failed in his duty, arriving too late to prevent her capture, and had been exiled as punishment. "I carry the weight of that failure every day," he admitted, as they rested in a small chamber. "Every moment I was late, she suffered, and now I wander, seeking redemption in whatever form I can find it." Amara felt a kinship with his pain. "My father, Frostlam, was injured in battle against the Black Rook. He loses more of his eyesight each day. I was supposed to protect him, but I failed. Now I seek to redeem myself by finding a way to end this conflict before he is gone completely." "So we're both seeking absolution," Kale said with a sad smile. Their moment of connection was interrupted when they discovered a hidden chamber with wall carvings depicting the ancient alliance between the Ice Drop and Black Rook tribes. The images showed leaders from both peoples standing united, the Black Shadow Blade held between them. "Your tribes weren't just allies," Kale said, studying the carvings. "You were brothers, two branches of the same ancestral people, separated by some schism long ago, but reunited through the blade's power." This revelation shook Amara's worldview. How could we have forgotten this? How could hatred have erased such a fundamental truth? Before Kale could respond, a deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Because hatred is a more powerful motivator than kinship." Blue skin. They turned to find Skorax, an elder of the Black Rook, standing in the doorway. His obsidian armor was more elaborate than that of the warriors they had encountered, marked with symbols of high rank. Behind him stood a contingent of Black Rook elite guards, weapons at the ready. I witnessed firsthand how your people trampled mine during the ice fire incident, 500 cycles ago. Skorax continued, his voice rough with ancient hatred. I watched as your ancestors violated every sacred trust between our peoples. No artifact can heal such wounds. The past cannot be changed, Amara replied, standing tall despite the fear coursing through her. But we need not be chained to it forever. Skorax laughed bitterly. Pretty words from the daughter of Frost Lamb, the man whose policies have pushed my people to the brink of extinction. He gestured to his warriors. Capture the blue-skinned female. The fate of the Black Rook now rests on the edge of my axe. Kale stepped forward, plasma shield activating. You'll have to go through me first. With pleasure, off-worlder, Skorax growled. What followed was a chaotic battle through the ancient corridors of Avalek Severin. Amara and Kale fought back to back, her crystal blade and his plasma weapons flashing in deadly harmony as they held off the Black Rook warriors. They were outnumbered, but their determination gave them strength. Gradually, they fought their way deeper into the citadel, toward the central chamber where the Black Shadow Blade was said to rest. As they approached the entrance to the Moon Spirit Chamber, they found themselves at a dead end. Before them, two crystal pathways converged to form a V shape, leading to an ornate doorway inscribed with ancient glyphs that glowed softly in the moonlight, filtering through a crystal skylight. But behind them, Skorax and his warriors had regrouped, blocking any retreat. And beyond the Black Rook, a massive snowstorm was pouring into the citadel through a breach in the ancient walls. We have no choice, Kale said. We need to enter the chamber. The Moon Spirit Chamber was unlike anything they had seen before. Floating stone blocks created a pathway through an impossible space where gravity seemed optional. The chamber consisted of 3 connected rooms, each with its own trial. The first, the Chamber of Awakening, contained a crystalline river flowing beneath the floor, reflecting distorted images of Amara and Kale. But as they watched, the reflections changed, showing visions of ice-drop tribespeople kneeling in shame before triumphant Black Rook warriors. An ancient curse, perhaps, or a memory preserved in the crystal. Amara stumbled, overwhelmed by the visions. What if we're wrong? What if seeking the blade will only bring more suffering? Don't let it break your resolve, Kale urged. These could be false images meant to test our determination. They pressed on to the second chamber, the Chamber of Confrontation. Here, black stone walls were carved with the images of 7 generations of Ice Drop leaders and 7 generations of Black Rook leaders, standing united. As they studied the carvings, ice traps activated, water freezing rapidly around their feet. Kale used his plasma rod to shatter the ice door, leading to the final chamber, barely escaping the freezing trap. The third chamber, the Chamber of Moonstone, was a circular room with a pedestal of pure crystal at its center. Resting on the pedestal was the Black Shadow Blade, a weapon of extraordinary beauty, its obsidian blade touching 2 moonstone crystals that glowed with a blue-white light. The sword appeared to be drawing energy from both stones, creating a perfect balance of power. As they approached the blade, the chamber door crashed open behind them. Skorax and his remaining warriors entered, weapons raised. Step away from the blade, Skorax commanded, pressing his ice axe against Amara's throat. Hand it over, off-worlder, or watch her die. Kale froze, his eyes meeting Amara's. She saw in them a calculation and a decision. Don't, she whispered. The blade cannot fall into his hands. A tear slid down her blue cheek. I can sacrifice myself to save my tribe, but I cannot allow my tribe to perish. Kale lowered his weapon. Take it, he said to Skorax, gesturing toward the blade. We must exchange hope between us. As Skorax moved toward the blade, Kale caught Amara's eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. Understanding flashed between them. The moment Skorax touched the blade, Kale and Amara lunged forward together, each placing a hand on the weapon as well. The moment their three hands made contact, the sword blazed with blinding light, a pure aurora that swept through the chamber like a wave of cleansing fire. The Black Rook warriors were thrown backward by the energy pulse. Skorax screamed as the light seared him, burning away layers of hatred that had accumulated over centuries. In the chaos, Amara tackled Skorax to the ground. His axe struck a section of ice wall, shattering it to reveal a hidden chamber containing the preserved memories of hatred, the actual history of the Icefire incident. The spirits of Black Rook ancestors materialized, their ghostly forms testifying to the original alliance and showing how the ancient treaty had been torn apart by deception from outside forces. Skorax stared in disbelief at the spectral evidence. The treaty. It was destroyed by infiltrators who wanted our resources. Both our peoples were deceived. The light from the black shadow blade spread throughout the chamber, dissolving the ice that had preserved ancient hatreds and freeing the consciousness trapped within. The Black Rook warriors, witnessing the truth revealed by their ancestors' spirits, began to lower their weapons. Amara knelt before the spirits of the Black Rook ancestors, pledging to lead her people toward a renewed alliance. The cycle of vengeance ends today. We will honor the truth, however painful it may be. The light gradually subsided, leaving the ancient citadel transformed. Ice that had blocked passages for centuries had melted away, revealing the full splendor of Avalek Severin, a citadel built by both tribes working in harmony. Skorax, though injured by the blade's energy, had been forced to confront the truth. Many of the Black Rook warriors, seeing the evidence of their shared history with the Ice Drop tribe, cautiously accepted the possibility of beginning anew. As they prepared to leave the rejuvenated citadel, Kale approached Amara. "I should return to the White Galaxy. I have a penance to complete." But as he turned to go, Amara caught his hand. "We still have much to do together," she said with a smile. "The alliance between our peoples will need stewards, and there are more lost memories to recover." Kale hesitated, then smiled in return. "Perhaps my redemption lies here after all." They emerged from Avalek Severin to find the snowstorm had subsided. The twin moons hung in the violet sky, their light transforming the landscape into a tapestry of blue and silver. Side by side, Amara and Kale began the journey back to civilization, the black shadow blade secured between them, a symbol of hope for a new era. Days later, Amara stood in the crystal capital of Junael, presenting the black shadow blade to a joint council of Ice Drop and Black Rook representatives. The ceremony took place beneath the twin moons, with thousands of citizens from both tribes gathered to witness the historic moment. The blade was placed on a ceremonial pedestal, its moonstone crystals glowing with a blue-white light that illuminated the faces of those present. As Amara recounted the truth they had discovered in Avalek Severin, murmurs of astonishment and dismay rippled through the crowd. Kale stood at the edge of the gathering, recording the event in his final journal entry. "I believe the Ice Drop and Black Rook tribes will find peace. The blade has proven that hope never dies." Amara placed the black shadow blade on a sacred altar, taking an oath as the Moon Bridge Guardian, a symbol of the renewed alliance. The ceremony concluded with representatives from both tribes touching the blade simultaneously, recreating the moment of truth that had occurred in the Moon Spirit Chamber. As the celebration continued into the night, Amara found Kale standing alone, gazing up at the twin moons. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Stay," he replied simply. "If you'll have me, there's much I can learn from your people, and perhaps some things I can teach in return." Amara smiled. "The stars have strange ways of bringing together those who need each other." They stood side by side, watching the twin moons that had witnessed centuries of conflict and now presided over the dawn of a new age. The black shadow blade had fulfilled its purpose, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a key to unlocking forgotten truths and buried hopes. On Aurora, beneath the violet sky, a new chapter had begun. The Ice Drop and Black Rook tribes faced a future of challenges and reconciliation, but they would face it together, with the wisdom of their shared past and the promise of a united destiny. And Amara, daughter of Frost Lamb, once defined by a shattered spear, had found a new purpose, not as a warrior fighting an endless war, but as a bridge between peoples who had forgotten they were once one. The twin moons continued their eternal dance across the sky, bathing the crystal landscape in their gentle light, silent witnesses to the resilience of hope and the power of truth to heal even the deepest wounds. In the years that followed, Aurora transformed. The crystal cities of the Ice Drop tribe and the obsidian fortresses of the Black Rook began to merge, creating new architectural forms that honored both traditions. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges flourished, and children who would once have been raised to hate now played together in newly established common grounds. It wasn't always easy. Centuries of hatred couldn't be erased overnight, and there were those on both sides who resisted the changes. Isolated conflicts erupted, threatening to reignite the ancient feud. But each time, Amara and Kale would journey to the troubled areas, carrying the black shadow blade as a reminder of the truth they had discovered. Gradually, a new society emerged, one that celebrated the unique strengths of both peoples while acknowledging their shared heritage. The Ice Drop's crystal crafting techniques, combined with the Black Rook's mastery of thermal manipulation, created technologies that transformed life on the harsh planet. Kale never returned to the White Galaxy. His exile became a blessing as he found purpose on Aurora, helping to build bridges between formerly hostile communities. The knowledge he brought from distant star systems helped advance Aurora's understanding of the universe beyond their world. And Amara, once defined by duty and tradition, discovered that true honor came not from perfect adherence to the past, but from the courage to forge a better future. The shards of her shattered ancestral spear were reforged into a ceremonial key that now opened the restored halls of Avalek Severin, transformed from a hidden tomb of secrets into a center of learning where both tribes studied their shared history. Beneath the violet sky, watched over by twin moons, Aurora bloomed with new possibility, proof that even the deepest wounds could heal, given truth, courage, and the willingness to see beyond ancient hatreds to the shared humanity beneath. The Black Shadow Blade remained a symbol of this transformation, not as a weapon, but as a bridge between worlds, between peoples, between past and future. Just as it had connected the opposing energies of the Ice Drop and Black Rook tribes, it now connected a divided planet to a united destiny. And in the quiet moments, when the twin moons hung low in the sky, Amara and Kale would stand together at the highest point of the Crystal City. Their silhouettes merged into one as they watched over the world they had helped to transform. A world where a shattered spear had led to a mended heart, and where an exile had found his true home. The story of Aurora continued to unfold beneath the violet sky, written not in blood and hatred as before, but in hope and reconciliation, a testament to the power of truth to illuminate even the darkest corners of history and the human heart.